There was a time when watching anime felt effortless. I could sit down, hit play, and suddenly hours were gone. I did not need to think about it. It just felt natural. It just worked. Somewhere along the way, however, that feeling disappeared. I've been watching anime for the good part of about 15 years, and lately, I kept asking myself the same question. Why does it feel harder to watch something I used to love so easily? And how did one random anime I almost skipped completely fix that? Now, when you've watched anime long enough, you start seeing patterns everywhere. Shonen gets louder every season, the main character screams and power-ups, and there's always, I mean always, a bigger fish. Sometimes the villains even get turned into allies and somehow feel weaker than before. Then you have slice of life animes, which stretches a single feeling across 12 episodes, and maybe, just maybe, if you're lucky, something finally happens at the end. And then there's isekai, long titles and overpowered protagonists, and worlds designed to be conquered instead of explored. And it's not to say any of that is bad. Most of it is really fun, and some of it is actually super comforting and relaxing. But after a while, it starts to blend together. Not because it's bad, but because you get tired of seeing the same patterns. And it's not like I stopped liking anime. What I actually started doing was rewatching old stuff. Things I already knew would feel good, because starting something new felt like a chore. It really felt like work. That's burnout. And I didn't even realize how tired I was until I found that show that quietly pulled me out of it. And that's to say, if isekai or anime in general was the problem, this was the medicine. And what's funny is, on paper, it doesn't sound impressive at all. Campfire Cooking in Another World with Absurd Skill. As you can see, a really long title. Now this is just about a guy who gets summoned to another world, and his special ability isn't combat or magic. It's online shopping. That's right, it's crazy, and guess what? I know that. He just buys groceries and cooks. There's an early moment where he makes a simple meal. Nothing fancy, just modern day food in a fantasy world. And instead of rushing through it, the show lets it sit. You watch him gather and cut the ingredients as the cooking starts. You hear the sizzling and crackling of the fire and the boiling of the pot. You watch the reactions of everybody around, and nobody's yelling or explaining the rules of the world. And as I watch the cast enjoy a meal with ingredients they never knew existed or would have combined together, you can see the spark burst through their eyes as life reinvigorates itself within them with every burst of flavor in their mouth. And that's when it hit me. The show isn't really trying to keep your attention. It's letting you rest and enjoy the simpleness. Every time he cooks, the reactions feel normal, but yet exciting, as if a familiar feeling begins to come over you as you watch. Similar to that of being a kid trying your favorite food for the first time, or maybe your candy. And as you watch, the characters as they try this food begin to give little short speeches about how incredible it is. It's just simple and relatable. Now with all of this, you would think the show abandons adventure, but that's what surprised me. It doesn't. However, it doesn't obsess over it either. The main character isn't overpowered, but his familiars are. And the show really lets you know that. I mean, there are a couple of fight scenes, and when they begin, before you know it, they're over just as fast. And it's not because they're boring, but because the tension isn't about how they win. You already know they will. It's about the new meat or new cuisine they're about to make. And that's when the journey goes back to what the show's really about, the food. And that right there is a spectacular rhythm that keeps you coming back to each episode. And when you think to yourself you may be done seeing the same format, that's when you're wrong. You get new foods to see them try. You even get new characters that bring a new zest to the overall plot. And trust me, each of these characters will bring out your inner child wonder again. The food itself looks incredible, to the point where you actually start to crave it. You want to cook. You want to just slow down. Watching the show stops feeling like consuming content and starts feeling like sharing a quiet moment with yourself. So to my earlier question, this anime doesn't cure my burnout by being better than everything else. It cured it by being quieter. It didn't try to outdo the genre, it stepped aside from it, and that made all the difference. And honestly, this isn't about isekai, it's about burnout in general. Burnout doesn't happen because something gets bad. It happens because it never stops asking things from you. And sometimes what you actually need isn't something louder or smarter. You need something gentle. So if you're burned out by isekai or anime in general, this show isn't just a reset button, it's something deep that allows you to breathe. And fair warning, you will get hungry.